Pre-flop position mistakes. In online poker games, position is a money multiplier. It is not just that you act last, it is that you get to see what opponents do before you commit more chips. Pre-flop is where most players quietly donate expected value by ignoring that basic fact. Then they wonder why they are always in tough spots post-flop. If you want a clean win rate in 100 big blinds cash, you need to treat position like a tax. The earlier you act, the more you pay. The later you act, the more you get paid. Your opening ranges, calling ranges, and sizing choices all have to reflect that. Position is not a seat, it is a range problem. When you are under the gun, you are building a pot while more players are left to act. That means more chances to get 3-bet, more chances to get called in position, and fewer clean flops where you realize equity without paying extra bets later. When you are button, you weaponize information. You realize equity better, you control pot size better, and you get to pressure-capped ranges. The expected value gap between opening a hand on button versus opening that same hand under the gun is massive. Most position mistakes are really just range construction mistakes. You play hands that cannot profit when you are first in, or you flat hands that should be 3-bets because you are scared of variance. Both are leaks. Mistake 1. Opening too wide from early position. The most common leak I see at mid-stakes online is players opening hands like Ace-10 offsuit, King-Jack offsuit, Queen-10 offsuit, small-suited gappers, or weak-suited aces from under the gun and under the gun 1. They justify it with, "I play well post-flop." That is hope, poker dressed up as confidence. Here's the problem. Those hands make dominated top pairs, and they do it in pots where you are out of position more often. When you get called by button or cutoff, your opponent is not calling with worse broadways at the same frequency you think. They are calling with hands that play cleanly and realize equity well in position. You can still open a solid range, under the gun, just respect the hierarchy. Tighten your offsuit broadways, prioritize suited broadways, and remember that rake plus positional disadvantage crushes marginal opens in many online pools. Mistake 2. Calling too much pre-flop, especially OOP. Flat calling is the silent killer in online cash because it feels low risk. It is not. A call creates a pot where you usually have initiative disadvantage and often position disadvantage too. Calling in the small blind is the worst offender. You put money in, you go post-flop out of position, and you drag the big blind into the pot at a great price. Unless you are defending tight and with hands that realize well, you are printing for the rake and for competent opponents. Instead of default calling, ask one question. Does this hand realize equity well out of position versus a strong opening range? If the answer is no, you should mostly 3-bet or fold. Passive is expensive. Mistake 3. Not tightening up when strong players are behind you. Position is not only your seat, it is also who is left to act. When multi-tabling online, it is easy to autopilot your standard open from hijack, even when button is a strong regular who 3-bets aggressively and big blind is a competent defender. If the lineup behind you is tough, your open has 2 negative shifts. You get 3-bet more and your opens get peeled by players who will apply pressure post-flop. That reduces your realization and forces you into higher variance decisions. Make a simple adjustment. Tighten the bottom of your opening range when the players behind you are aggressive. If the players behind you are passive and overfold, open wider and steal harder. Context dictates strategy. Mistake 4. Overcalling from late position instead of 3-betting. Cutoff and button are the most profitable seats, but many players waste them by calling too much versus opens. They keep hands like Ace-Jack suited, King-Queen suited, pocket nines, or suited broadways as flats because I want to see a flop. That mindset leaves expected value on the table. In position, your 3-bets accomplish 3 things. You win the pot pre-flop, you isolate weaker opens, and you build a pot where you have initiative plus position. That combination is where online win rates come from. You do still want a calling range, especially on button versus certain positions. Just do not let it become a parking lot for hands that should be pressuring. Relative strength is everything, and the same hand can be a flat versus a nit, and a 3-bet versus a wide opener. Mistake 5. Treating position like a license to play trash. Button is powerful, but it is not magic. Players oversteal with hands that are not even good steal candidates, like 8-4 offsuit, 9-3 suited, or weak offsuit junk in higher rake environments. Then they face a strong big blind defend range and end up firing too many low-equity C bets. The fix is simple. Use hands that have playability. Favor suited hands, connected hands, and broadways that make strong top pairs. Cut back on offsuit trash that cannot barrel profitably when called. Also remember that big blind defense is strong in most online pools. If your steal range is too weak, you are not exploiting them. You are funding their check raise practice. Mistake 6. Set mining as a default plan. I am going to be blunt. I call with pocket twos to try to flop a set is one of the most abused ideas in poker. It can be valid in specific deep and soft lineups, but as a default in raked online cash, it is often negative expected value. Set mining needs implied odds, and implied odds depend on position and opponent tendencies. If you are calling out of position versus a tight opener who barrels correctly, your small pair realizes poorly. If you are calling in position versus a player who overpays one pair, you can justify it more often. Do not let a rare big win justify a long-term leak. You need consistent, repeatable expected value, not highlight reels. Hand scenario, the button tax collector. Game, 100 no limit online, 100 big blinds effective. Hero is on the button with 8 of hearts, 7 of hearts. Cutoff opens to 2.3 big blinds, small blind folds. Big blind is a competent regular who defends wide. Pre-flop, Hero 3. Bets to 7.5 big blinds, cutoff calls, big blind folds. Pot is 16.3 big blinds. Flop. King of spades, 6 of diamonds, 2 of clubs. Cutoff checks. Hero bets 5.2 big blinds. Why this works? In position, you get to leverage initiative. Your range contains strong value like ace-king, king-queen suited, overpairs, and some king-x that 3-bet pre-flop. Cutoff has plenty of hands that miss this flop, like queen-jack, jack-10, ace-5 suited, and pocket pairs that hate pressure. Even with 8 of hearts, 7 of hearts, you have backdoor equity, plus the ability to barrel certain turns. The key is that the 3-bet pre-flop created a situation where your positional advantage turns into fold equity, not a guessing game. How to fix your position leaks fast. First, early position, cut dominated offsuit broadways, open ranges that can defend versus 3 bets without panic. Second, blinds, stop calling because it is cheap. Defend with hands that realize. And 3, bet more of your strongest and most workable combos. Third, late position, build a real 3-bet strategy. Flat less with hands that benefit from initiative. Fourth, table awareness, tighten when crushers sit behind you, loosen when they overfold. Make your ranges opponent sensitive. Key takeaway, position is expected value, not convenience. Tighten up early because more players are left to act. Stop bleeding chips with passive out-of-position calls, and use late position to apply pressure with a real 3-bet strategy. If you want a consistent online win rate in raked games, build ranges that realize equity well, and make sure your pre-flop choices create post-flop decisions you can actually profit from. Now, let's test your edge. Question 1. What does the article mean by position is a money multiplier in online poker? Answer. Acting later gives you more information before committing chips, improving equity realization and decision quality. Explanation. The article emphasizes that seeing opponents act first lets you control pot size, apply pressure, and avoid paying extra bets in unclear spots. Question 2. According to the article, why is opening too wide from under the gun 1 a common leak? Answer. Marginal hands make dominated top pairs and get punished more often because you're out of position with more players left to act. Explanation. The text notes that early position faces more 3 bets and calls in position, and hands like weak offsuit broadways perform poorly under rake and positional disadvantage. Question 3. What is the article's main filter question before flat calling pre-flop out of position? Answer. Does this hand realize equity well out of position versus a strong opening range? Explanation. The article argues that passive calling often creates initiative and position disadvantages. If the hand won't realize well, you should mostly 3-bet or fold. Question 4. When aggressive, strong players are behind you, what adjustment does the article recommend for your opening range? Answer. Tighten the bottom of your opening range. Explanation. The text explains you'll face more 3-bets and more pressure post-flop, reducing realization and increasing variance, so you should open fewer marginal hands. Question 5. In the button tax collector scenario, what is the key reason the flop continuation bet works after the pre-flop 3-bet? Answer. The 3-bet creates initiative plus position, letting hero leverage a stronger range to generate fold equity on a flop cutoff often misses. Explanation. The article states hero's range contains strong value like ace-king, king-queen suited, and overpairs, while cutoff has many misses. Position and initiative convert the spot into pressure rather than guessing. Study hard, play smart. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next lesson.